Liberia as a country deserves fairness. Liberia deserves clarity. Liberia deserves truth. And tonight, we have taken one step towards that truth. Equality is tested when the powerful are held accountable for their action. Now, this is an allegation. This is not something that has been proven. There's no court that have held her guilty for being a drug smuggler or drug distributor, whatever you want to call it. There's no court that have held her liable or guilty. But the same way you would have treated a suspect or regular suspect, she deserved to be treated the same way and no other way else. Any attempt to treat her differently, then you are violating the very constitution that promises equal treatment under the law. Okay, good afternoon, good evening, hello, Liberians, all around the world. However you are, wherever you are, where you're watching from, where you're listening to us from. This is the Straight Talk Liberia show where we talk about all things Liberia, mostly leadership. We also talk about those who are doing good. We just share light on trending issues that concerns our country, Liberia, and the rest of us from wherever we find ourselves. So just welcome to it. It's Straight Talk Liberia. I'm your boy. Um, Abraham Turay, and we're going to it. However, if you're just watching us, if you just started listening to us, please, we have a YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify platform. We can be found on YouTube at Straight Talk Liberia, also on Facebook, Straight Talk Liberia, and obviously our Spotify account. Go on Spotify. You don't need membership. You just gotta just download Spotify, email, sign up for it, and it's free for the most part. And you can search us up there and find us and just listen to it where you can listen to us in your car, at work, wherever you find yourself. Okay. Um, but yeah, let's get into it. So today we are discussing Liberia again, discussing Liberia in its entirety. But the main thing we want to talk about today is the situation involving the subsequent arrest of Liberia's former Vice President Howard Taylor. Okay, it's an open secret. We all know she was arrested some couple of days back, and that's what we're going to talk about here today. So wherever you are, stay glued with us. But let's not waste any time. Let's get into it. This is what I want to say as Liberians, right? Liberia is a country with a long memory. We remember our heroes. We remember our struggles. We also remember our wounds as Liberians. We remember the years when our nation was torn apart, when law and order was when it all collapsed, when titles meant nothing, when bullets did not discriminate between a market woman and a minister. Out of that painful history as a country, we built a constitution that promised one thing above all, that is to say, equal treatment under the law. With all what we went through, that's one thing the Constitution of Liberia promises us: equal treatment under the law. And this is something that is very essential, is very important, and as important as taking it back to the latest arrest of Howard Taylor, former Vice President of the Republic of Liberia. So I want us to understand that. I want you to remember that equal treatment under the law. With all our history, with our past, this is one thing that is supposed to be guaranteed, or that is guaranteed to us, that we all should be treated equally in respect of tribe, creed, religion, social affiliation, whatever it is. The Constitution promises us equal treatment under the law. And I want you as a Liberian listening to this to me right now, just to underline that. Keep that thought for a second, because it's going to be very important at some point in time in or doing our conversation here today. So as we go about this, I just want us to just take politics out of it. Let us look at Liberia as a country. What kind of Liberia we've been having, what kind of Liberia we have now, and what kind of Liberia we want. If whatever we're doing is good, do we want to continue it? If it's bad, do we want to change it? But based off what the Constitution promises us, just that equal treatment under the law, it's going to be very important at this point. When that happened, Liberia as a country exploded. We exploded that our former vice president was taken into custody over alleged drug allegations. Some say it was disrespectful. Some say it was. There are a lot of concerns. Some say she posed no flat risk, And other people saying, well, she deserved a notice, a phone call, at least call her, let her know, invite her to the police station. You want to talk to her, and then you shouldn't have treated her the way you treated her. You should not deny her. Some say she should not have been denied. Even if she went for the program, she would have came back, and so on and so forth. And then others are saying, or others say something very different. That once a person is suspected of a crime, the law does not bend for titles, that the Constitution does not grant immunity for former officials, that equal treatment under the law means exactly equal. It means exactly that, being equal under the law. So tonight, we are going to unpack this moment. We are going to talk about the law, the police mandate, the cultural expectations, and the political noise that's in Liberia today. Because Liberia is watching and Liberia deserves clarity as a country. Okay? So please hold on tight and let's go into this conversation. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the actualities, what really happened. Now, let's begin with what actually happened that day. Okay? Former Vice President Jewel Howard Taylor, she was scheduled for a travel going to Ghana for some women's conference, like she said. And at the airport, she was denied boarding. Authorities informed her that, hey, Madam Vice President, you are needed by the Liberia National Police Station headquarters for questioning. Oh, want to have a word with you. She was invited. Okay, she was invited to go to the Liberia National Police headquarters. I want you to listen to that. Let us sink in. Remember what I said earlier, that the Constitution provides us all equal treatment under the law. For her, like many other Liberian officials, she was invited to come to the police station and have a sit down with them. Okay, she was invited. And what happened is, though, she responded that she would not immediately go to the police station, and that she needed to go to her house or contact her lawyer and then go to the police station after speaking with counsel. Does that sit in? If Yankwe from Nimba County, a regular Yankwe, was invited by the police or was suspected of some crime, do they give Yankwe the time to go sit with his counsel to his house, sit with his counsel, then come to the police station? Or do they take Yankwe in strictly? Let me just ask this question right there. But what happened? The police made sure that she had to go into the police station that day. The police proceeded with their mandate and took her for questioning. That is the sequence of events. No violence, no physical harm, no public humiliation. Just a moment where the police insisted on immediate compliance, and pretty much that's what it insisted on, immediate compliance. She insisted on delay. This is a former vice president of the Republic of Liberia. She was the former first lady of the Republic of Liberia. She was the former lawmaker, a senator of the Republic of Liberia, who have written some laws, who understand, or at least should understand the Constitution, what the Constitution says, and the very mandate the Liberia National Police has. But here is what happened. This very moment split Liberia right down in the middle, or right down to the middle. Okay, one side of Liberia, or Liberians who believe that she was disrespected. There's one side of the belief she was disrespected. They argue that she's a former vice president, um, a national figure, a woman of status. They say that she posed no flat risk. She was a former vice president. She posed no flat risk. She's a former vice president. She could have been reached at any time demanded, right? On the other side, Liberians who believe that the police acted exactly as the Constitution demands, they argue that once someone is suspected of a crime, status does not matter. They also argue that the Constitution of Liberia guarantees equal treatment for all. Remember what I said earlier? They continue their argument by saying giving special treatment to former officials is like pretty much it is the real threat to democracy. We should not be giving special treatment to former officials because that alone poses threat to democracy. And here's the truth: both sides are speaking from real places, and I want to acknowledge that. I don't want to come here and make it seem like, oh, those guys who are advocating for the former vice president's points are not legit, they're not valid. And I also don't want to say, oh well, the law enforcement points are not valid. You are looking at two different things here, two different things. Okay, the first group of people, they are speaking from a traditional perspective, and of course the way Liberia has always treated her elders and leaders. That's the first group of people which they should not have been arrested. Events, how Liberia usually treated the leaders. For example, there was a prior situation going on at the Capitol building, but that was courtesy. And I just want you to remember one thing: when the police asked her, "Hey, can you please come? Let's talk," the police was actually following that cultural norm that already exists in Liberia. There's nowhere in the Constitution that says if you are suspected of a crime, you should have special treatment, regardless of status. There's nowhere in the Constitution that says, "Oh yes, if you are suspected to be a criminal, you should get special treatment." Because the attempt to even do that in of itself is the violation of the rights of other people you did it to. There are a lot of people that went over there. For an example, I met a Bucky Roy. He know how special treatment. You know how special say, "Hey, come, let's go to the police station and let me ask you." Doesn't matter what quantity of drug allegedly that was found with Bucky Raw. It doesn't matter. They took him in as a suspect. They handle him the way they're supposed to handle him. Now, Bucky Roy is a public figure in Liberia as well, but he's not compared to Joe Howard Taylor. He's not a former government official. So they took Bucky Raw in. They didn't invite him to the station. He didn't say, "Oh, yo, let me get my lawyer." As a matter of fact, he was handcuffed. His latest arrest, he was handcuffed. But let's go back to the second group and hear what they're saying. And I want to say to you, the second group is speaking from the place. They're speaking from the place of the Constitution, from law, from equality, from promises that no Liberian is above accountability. And to be honest, no Liberian is above accountability. It doesn't matter whether you're vice president, you're a speaker, whatever it is, as it should go. No Liberian is above accountability. We should all be held accountable for our actions. But we got to talk about the culture versus constitution. Liberia is deeply a cultural society. We respect elders for the most part. We honor leaders. We also believe in giving the people time to prepare. For example, in the case of Fonati Kofa, we gave him the time to prepare. Hey, come, let's talk to you. He complied. He went. Madam Joe Howard tell her, "Mom, you can't go." She didn't want to do it. She said she got to go to the hospital to talk to a lawyer, and it will come later on. So they gave her that same courtesy. She just wanted it her way. She just wanted to do it her way. But let me tell you something about Joe Howard Taylor. Joe Howard Taylor is just not a former vice president. She's not just a former first lady. She's not just a former senator who knows and understands the law of Liberia, at least supposed to. She's a lawyer. At least I know she went to law school. Joe Howard Taylor attended the Louis Graham School of Law. She went to the Louis Arthur Graham School of Law, and she said as a lawyer. I stand to be corrected, but she's a lawyer. So that means she should know what the Constitution provides and does not provide. So the attempt to call, say, "Hey, come, you are invited to for questioning." That was respectful in of itself. And one may argue differently because obviously Liberia is a heavily politically charged society, so they may have opposing argument or view of what I'm saying. But the fact remains, she knows the law. She made some of these laws, and she understands these laws. So when people say she should have been allowed to go home first and maybe speak with a lawyer, they are pretty much speaking from a cultural standpoint. They're speaking from a cultural place, a place of respect, a place of tradition, and their perspective is very, very much indeed valid. I don't want nobody to trivialize how they feel and what they're saying. It's not something that's just common. It's important. But guess what though? Liberia as a country is also a constitutional republic. It is a constitutional republic, and you cannot take that from that. And I want to let tonight or this afternoon that it does not guarantee special treatment for former officials. It does not say a former vice president must be given extra time. It does not say determinist procedure. All persons are equal before the law. That's what the Constitution says, and there's nothing more than that. All persons are equal before the law to us all. Equality is tested when the powerful are held accountable for their action. Now, this is an allegation. This is not something that has been proven. There's no court that have held her guilty for being a drug smuggler or a drug distributor, whatever you want to call it. There's no court that have held her liable or guilty. She deserves to be treated the same way and no other way else. Any attempt to treat her differently, then you are violating the very constitution that promises equal treatment under the law. The Liberia National Police, as a law enforcement agency, has a mandate, a legal mandate, and that mandate also involves investigation, to investigate crimes, question suspects, detain just to detain individuals when necessary, and prevent flight risk. They have the right to come in. And let me tell you something about this thing they call reasonable cause. Reasonable cause in law enforcement does not require proof. You don't have to have a proof before you can prove reasonable cause at all. It requires suspicion backed by evidence or intelligence. I want to break it down. It requires suspicion backed by evidence or intelligence. So you could say, okay, they don't have the evidence. The political side could be speaking, they don't have the evidence, but they have the intel that something could be going on wrong, and she's paramount to this case, so let's call her in for questioning. And they can detain you as they go about the investigation. It's all part of the investigation. And one thing I want you all to know, for those of you who don't know, I'm not speaking to the politicians who are listening. I'm speaking to the Liberians who needs clarity. The word flat risk is not about intention. Someone could have the good intention of leaving the country and coming back, but flat risk is not about intention. It is about opportunity. Okay, so even if she intended to return to the country or return to Liberia. Leaving Liberia removes jurisdiction. Leaving the soil of Liberia removes jurisdiction from the Liberia National Police. In other words, Liberia now, if it were overwhelming facts to believe that she should be charged and be prosecuted and brought back in the country, Liberia now would have been working with the Ghanaian government, or could have be working with like Interpol to make sure that the former vice president comes back to the country for questioning, or to be held accountable for the alleged charges that level against her. That does not even stop there. It also going to take taxpayer money for all that. But we have our potential suspect in our hands here. She's right here before us. She has not left the country yet. What do we do? Do we let her go? That hopefully she comes back, or if she doesn't come back, then we start writing Ghanaian government, other countries' government to bring her back, extradite her, or should we seize her now since she's right now in our custody or she's in our jurisdiction? Any attempt letting her go, the whole thing is going to complicate the investigation. It was going to affect the evidence they had, and also going to affect witnesses. You don't want your suspect of a case to go somewhere else for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, where there's a possibility he or she could be contacting other people, possibly destroying evidence. So when the police insisted on the immediate, compliance, they were not acting out of disrespect at all. There's no way you can sit here and tell me the Liberia National Police were acting out of disrespect when they insisted on her immediate compliance. They were acting out of mandate. They were acting out of constitutional duty. They were acting out of the principle that justice, the same justice we talked about earlier, must be blind. That's what they were acting under. Respect is cultural, equality is constitutional. And I just want us to understand that. The idea of respect is cultural, equality is constitutional. The Constitution guarantees equality. We may have abused it for other people here and there, but are we going to start from somewhere? Is somebody going to be the example? Then yeah, maybe somebody has to be the example. But I don't want to sit here to think that, oh, the witch hunting. No, that's not what it was. If you are arrested or charged or detained for a alleged crime or possible crime, if you didn't do it, the best course of action, I would say, is comply. Once there's no physical assault, there's no abuse, comply. You can always fight in the court, not in the streets. And in moments like this, the Constitution must win. The Constitution must win. And there are key legal concepts that we're going to have to talk about today. We're going to talk about equal protection. Liberia, the Constitution of Liberia guarantees equal protection, equal treatment under the law. It guarantees that. That means no special privilege for former officials, no exemptions based on status, no alternative procedures for elites. No, we should all be dealt with per the law. The Liberia National Police has a constitutional and statutory authority to pretty much investigate suspected crime, question individuals, detain detain people when necessary, and for the most part, prevent flat risk when there's a reasonable cause. When a reasonable cause exists, they should prevent flat risk. Once you refuse to immediately comply, police authority was triggered. No, man, we have amended. You have to go. Okay? So we should not politicize everything. Let's look at what is there. Reasonable cause allow authorities to act quickly when they believe that someone is connected to a potential crime or a crime. It applies to everyone, regardless of your status. It applies to everyone. Everyone should be held accountable, to be honest. No immunity. Liberia's constitution only grants immunity to the sitting president office. Okay? And I will say this to you. Liberia Constitution as it is currently written, unless there's the law be amended and there be appealed, whatever it is, a former vice president has no legal immunity at all whatsoever. You're a former vice president, you have no legal immunity. And I just want us to understand that. Flat risk is about opportunity and it's not about intention. Leaving Liberia removes the jurisdiction that the government had to persecute or to arrest or detain. So let's look at it from that standpoint, at least as Liberians. We should not be political about everything. And I will say here to you today, and I want to be very clear, charge that. This is not to say if they treated other people differently, that means they were right by doing that. No, the Constitution provides equal treatment under the law. So anybody that may have been, mistreated or wrongly treated, that person was violated. But that was then. Let's talk about now. What's happening now? Okay, we can all hold Liberia National Police accountable for whatever thing they should have done that they have not done. We can all hold them accountable for that because it is our sole right that they should be held accountable for those things that they have done. How be it, we should be sincere to ourselves and for everything running into our vein or through our veins that's called integrity. We've got to be okay. We can acknowledge the cultural expectation that that we all have about it, but let us also acknowledge that culture cannot override obligations. Culture should not override obligation or constitutional obligations. You can have your cultural expectation, what it should have been, what it could have been. You can have all that, but it cannot override constitutional expectation or obligations. Equal treatment under the law is the foundation of democracy in every God well-meaning society. Equal treatment of the law is the foundation of democracy, and I will say that to you today as long as I can. Special treatment in of itself undermines justice. If I will give you special treatment because you're a lawmaker, I'll give you special treatment because you're a former minister, whatever it is, but then I'm treating the other guy just anyhow. It undermines justice. It is not fair. So let's understand that your status in life or in society does not determine procedure. No, your status should not determine procedure. If something is wrong, it's wrong. If it's wrong for Paul, let's be wrong for Mary. Per the Constitution. The Constitution does not see gender. Oh, she's a woman. It doesn't even see illness. Oh, she's sick. No. What the Constitution sees is exactly what the Constitution sees. So as we go about all this, as we talk about all these extra things and our emotions are charged, we should look at that. It guarantees equal treatment for all, not by sex, not by race, not by creed, not by religion, not by nothing. Let's understand that. The police acted within their legal mandate. You cannot blame them for that. Former officials in Liberia don't have immunity. They don't have immunity. They're not immune to nothing. If they did wrong, they'll be held accountable for it. If they are suspected of doing wrong, they'll be held accountable for it. Flat risk is about opportunity, it's not by intentions or intention. And I will say to you today, culture values respect, but the Constitution values equality. Culture, it values respect, but the Constitution values equality. And I want that to sink in, those of you listening. Justice must be blind, or it is justice, or it is injustice. Justice must be blind. Anything thereof, anything short of that, it's not justice anymore. It's injustice to all. So you cannot have an open eye. Justice cannot have an open eye when dealing with a situation. But that's the time that I've had with you. In closing, others. Although, okay, if you my boy, my man, like my man, do this with my man, let's just do it this way. No, if it is wrong here, let it be wrong everywhere. Title should not determine accountability at all. You don't want to build a justice system where the culture, the norms override constitution. Most especially if it is being observed and being written down as the law. You can't do that. And we also have to accept that accountability has no title. Accountability has no title. We all have got to be accountable. The Constitution does not bow, and neither should the law itself that governs us bow to anything or anybody. Liberia as a country deserves fairness. Liberia deserves clarity. Liberia deserves truth. And tonight, we have taken one step towards that truth. We have set the standard that no one is immune from accountability. As we all listen, every allegation leveled against former Vice President Taylor, let it be dealt with according to that, and let her face the full weight. We should not think she's immune from accountability. My name is Abraham Turay, and I'm your host of the Straight Talk Liberia. and it was nice having you here today. Please subscribe to our channel on YouTube. It's Straight Talk Liberia. On Facebook, our page is Straight Talk Liberia, and also on Spotify, Straight Talk Liberia. It was nice to have you all here today. I thank you. Thank you all. God bless you. And let's pray for Liberia. We have started something, and I think that we can end it. I think that we can see the end thereof. Thank you as Liberians. God bless you. God bless Liberia.